The unofficial official Big Ten media polls were officially released yesterday, and it's media day today. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good content coming out of this that we'll cover on the channel. You guys did kind of an all-encompassing like takeaways from the unofficial poll yesterday video, but I wanted to pull out a couple things more specifically and just talk about them in a little bit more detail. So we start with the team that was picked to win the league. It's obviously Purdue. They received 25 of 28 first place votes. That was a surprise to me. My Michigan Wolverines got three first place votes and finished second in the poll. From there on, it was UCLA third, Illinois fourth, Oregon fifth, Michigan State sixth. I don't think the order of any of those teams is all that surprising at all. But geez, it's been a while. In the UM Hoops forums a couple weeks ago, we were in a big debate with Michigan fans on if there would be any debate over who the number one team is or not. I was adamant that there shouldn't be. There's no one on earth that should vote Michigan over Purdue right now. However, three people did. Purdue got 25 of 28 first place votes. Is that surprising to you? Do you care at all that Purdue was not the unanimous first place team in this conference?
Yeah, I want votes taken away, G. So someone needs to be in charge of how votes are counted, I think. And we should lower it to 25 people because those three people that voted against Purdue is crazy. I did say this. I have no issue with Michigan being two, by the way. I think that is like the correct choice. Um, I just think the correct choice is also a unanimous Purdue team and then Michigan too. But also, I mean, I would assume, well, actually, I mean, do we know like what team within the Big Ten that the voters cover?
I am trying to find the actual votes right now. Who voted them first? I just have last names on this. Or no, we have Zach Osterman of the Indy Star. We have Brendan Quinn, who I believe used to cover Michigan and Michigan State, and then now does golf stuff. And then someone named Sauber, who I don't know who Sauber is.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know any of them, to be fair.
I know Brendan Quinn and I know Osterman, but okay. So I think it's one of these weird things. Like at this specific moment in time, if you haven't looked at the history of these polls, you might interpret it the way I did in the moment, which is like, that's crazy. How did they just not get unanimous votes? There's such a big gap between what Purdue is supposed to be this year and what Michigan is supposed to be. Michigan's like a fringe top 10 team in the country. Purdue is the number one team in the country, or number two at worst, no lower than two. The thing is, I was looking back throughout history of preseason polls, and again, this is like an unofficial media poll. There's just 28 media guys involved in this every year. It's very rarely unanimous. Very rarely unanimous. The last unanimous preseason number one team in the Big Ten was Cassius Winston, Michigan State, senior year, the COVID year. So, they had gone to a Final Four the year before. They were returning Cassius. That felt sizable at the time. And I guess that's kind of, I don't know, like getting 25 out of 28. Maybe we shouldn't interpret that as the slight that I want to interpret that is in the moment, because it actually is one of the more overwhelming large favorites in the history of this poll. It just still feels like it's three short of what it should be. Like, I'd love to have a conversation with anyone who coming into the season is like, Michigan's going to be better than Purdue. That makes no sense to me. Dion, how's your job going?
Beginning of the school year, everything's like a little up and down. One of the biggest issues we've had is we can't find any uniforms for our girls' sports teams.
Hmm. That's a difficult thing to find a solution for. I know damn well all about that because I got a daughter that just turned two. She's into sports and she's already outgrowing every little piece of sports apparel she had. Thankfully, I know Clara K Creations. Clara K Creations was started by a former high school teacher who quit because it wasn't cost effective to send new twins and a 2-year-old to daycare. She found it easier to make girls' sports apparel than finding it to buy. And I am so thankful that she exists because if we have an old shirt of Murph's that she's outgrown, we can send it in and she takes that piece of apparel that means something and upcycles it into an outfit that Murphy can now wear as she grows up. She makes great stuff. It's honestly kind of like your fullback's wife, Kyle Juszczyk. Is that how you say it? She does that, but honestly, I think Clara Kate's coming for Mrs. Juszczyk's job.
I love that. I'm a big Juice guy. Love his wife. Love Claire Kate even more than both of them, though.
You can send in your own custom ideas and she will come up with a design. She's just the best. Look up Clara Kate Creations on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and more.
I mean, it like that's where I'm like, was it a Michigan like beat writer or somebody like that? Like,
Wasn't though.
yeah, that's what's crazy to me. And I just would like you said, I would just want to know why. Is it one of those situations? Because to me, when you're doing like preseason rankings, it's a combination of who you think the best is like within the preseason and also who you think the best is going to be at the end of the year. If somebody told me, "Hey, I think Michigan will be better than Purdue in March," I would probably still think they're crazy, but I could see the vision a little bit. But like from day one, there isn't a world that Michigan's better than Purdue just because of all the turnover Michigan has. Dusty has a harder job of getting Michigan to their ceiling than Matt Painter does of getting Purdue to their ceiling when he returns his three best players and CJ Cox, Shakari Harris, so on and so forth. So for me, like there's probably a point in the season where I would say, hey, Purdue should have 25 first place votes and Michigan should have a few first place votes. I just don't think that point in the season is like right now.
Yeah. This also isn't like a perfect exact science, just because from looking through some of the results, there was one voter who voted Yaxel Lenneborg transfer of the year and then Bennett Sturts player of the year. Like that, it doesn't seem like it makes sense. If you got transfer of the year being a transfer, then the player of the year should probably also be the transfer, maybe. I don't know. I Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's as much of a slight as I originally thought, I guess is my takeaway from this. And maybe this is the maize and blue homerism in me here. But the surprise here is actually that it seems the 28 voters involved in this poll put Michigan closer to Purdue than they do UCLA and that next tier below them. Like all offseason, the way I frame this is Purdue's alone in tier one, Michigan and UCLA are in tier two. And then there's like a 2B with Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan State. You could make arguments for Oregon, various other teams that might be as good as UCLA or Michigan, but nobody's as good as Purdue. At minimum, the results of this poll, Michigan getting three first place votes. Michigan got 27 of the 28 ballots had them top three. Like I'm shocked there weren't more people that just voted Michigan like fourth or lower even. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but the reality is like the preseason pundits have Michigan closer to Purdue than they do UCLA or Illinois, and I haven't viewed it that way all offseason. Maybe we should, and maybe that's more about Michigan being something good than it is any sort of slight against Purdue.
I mean, I think upon looking at it like that, I definitely understand it a little bit more. I still think Michigan can be framed as something really good while Purdue gets their love as like unanimous, like number one as well. Um, and Michigan should be viewed as something like really good too, by the way. I think, and maybe this is actually probably me like reasoning it all in my head, and it is very similar to what you just said. Michigan's got to be closer to Purdue than they are the number three team in this poll, right? Like it does feel like kind of like a two-team race at times.
I haven't viewed it that way, but this poll wants me to view it that way. So we'll see. Which Purdue player has this printed out and hung up in their locker already? There's at least one to two who's going to be like, not unanimous.
Definitely TK.
Our guy TK.
Our guy TK
It's
for
a
sure.
Braden move too. Braden's a receipt keeper for sure. So you could tell me this is a receipt for Purdue, and I would buy that.
Braden feels like a psycho receipt killer like you and me though, where it's like he doesn't need to print it out. This is engraved in his brain. Like he wakes up in the morning, it's the first thing he sees without it being anywhere near him.
My guess would be that Braden is keeping receipts on, oh, it wasn't unanimous that we're the best team here? Bet. I got that. And then TK is keeping receipts of, oh, I wasn't the preseason player of the year? I wasn't? the guy I score more than him. Really? So we'll see.